G3 and pawn H5 from Magnus. He's back playing Opening Trash Tuesday, Title Tuesday really known as. An online Blitz chess tournament played every week, and I've got two games for you here because I'm feeling really in the mood for bringing you some crazy chess. Now Magnus's opponent here is a Chilean Grandmaster. His name is Cristobal Enriquez Villagra, apologies on the pronunciation, and he now goes knight f3 and he gets the treatment from Magnus with pawn h4 here. Thank you very much, I'll have your pawn. e5 is Magnus's point. We've seen this system before and I'll link that phenomenal game at the end. White about to go down in just a few moves. Black takes here, and now here white's like, right Magnus, I'm going to fight fire with fire. You want to give up material, so will I. Do you want to capture, develop my knight with tempo here? Well, Magnus decides against. He goes d5. We get takes on d4 now. And what does Magnus do? He goes Gotham chess style right and sacrifices the rook. On h4, pawn recaptures, queen takes. White is better by some margin. You know, you're not supposed to play like this, right? And just give up a rook for a knight. How does Magnus win from here in like 15 moves or something? Just nuts. Queen d3 played. Absolutely weird looking move. I'm not really sure what was wrong with knight c3. I've given it a guess. Maybe to stop bishop f5. Or maybe looking for queen g3 to trade off the queens and hit the pawn. But okay, Magnus develops. White's lost loads of time now, by the way. Maybe disconnected, not sure. But we now see knight c3, knight f6 covering the centre here. And now bishop e3 looks really ugly. Not a fan of that move. Computer hates it too. It prefers chucking in a check here. This queen is just on the wrong square, wrong colour complex. Because after this one, knight b4 comes, hopping with tempo, queen d2, queen b5 check gets you nowhere, by the way, pawn c6, and this knight's covered by the bishop, so dropping back here is best, and now bishop f5. Big initiative for Magnus. Not the favourite move of the engine, as you can see. If we jump back one, it wanted an immediate knight e4. But Magnus goes for this one, rook c1, covers the jump. Now we get knight e4 and we don't see takes. White hesitant to bring something onto this diagonal here, facing the rook. f3 not possible, the pawn's pinned to the king. So we see queen d1 played, Magnus castles queenside here, and queen b3, targeting the pawn in the centre here, plus the black king. What does Magnus come up with? Well, he retreats to c6 here. Now we get bishop g2 and bishop b4, trying to eliminate this knight if possible. Put some pressure on this f2 pawn. a3 now played. Magnus takes, and what you have to do here is actually give back the exchange with the rook. Why can't you take with the pawn? Most natural move in the world, which white plays. Well, it's atrocious suddenly. -6. Where did that come from? Well, it's all to do with these king safety issues. Because black now hops with tempo against the queen, which moves to a very natural square, but now knight c4 comes. And even though the a7 pawn is collapsing, there's a threat to take the bishop, and then you deliver a check and pretty much mate right, or devastating material loss to follow. So that's why bishop takes on e4 played, taking away the knight, attacking f2. We get bishop recaptures, rook in the corner hit, it slides to g1. Now Magnus takes on e3 and he's simply got two minor pieces for the rook now because you can't recapture due to that horrendous pin. This is move 20, 4 moves to go. We get queen takes on a7 and now Magnus has many good moves. He goes for this one with check and white gives up the rook. Yes, you can sidestep, but the attack continues. Queen f4 is a great move, hitting this rook. You can take here immediately. This one played anyway. Bishop recaptures, check, king d7, queen takes on b7, and after Magnus takes on h2, continuing the attack, and providing some defence from afar. Here White's had enough, chucks in the towel. Magnus wins in 24 move after that opening garbage. How the hell does he do it, right? And I'm bringing you a second game just for some fun. So let's now jump to this one. So this one's played against FIDE Master Valery Skachkov. He's a Russian player, and this game's just another one of those jokes, right? Watch the position that White gets. Magnus plays steady. No opening trash here. This is round 2. We're going to say 1, 2. G3, Catalan played, and now Magnus doesn't go for any of the mainline moves. He goes C5. Apparently a pseudo Tarrasch defense, according to the opening book, chess.com. Not a pure Tarrasch. This has been inserted as opposed to knight C3. Now we see takes on D5, and rather than, capturing, Magnus takes on D4. And White can simply take here, legitimately win a pawn after takes, something like this. You are a pawn ahead as White. Black's got everything to prove. But okay, not played. Instead, just bishop G2. The pawn, therefore, not taken by White. Magnus checks. Of course, knight C3 impossible with the pawn sitting here. So bishop D2. Now bishop C5, nudging back to hold the pawn. But you're not. Great tactic by Valery. He takes on D4. You can't actually take back, or else there's a problem. Queen A4 check, and you lose that bishop. No time for knight C6 or pawn takes. Unusual tactics. So E takes on D5 from Magnus. He's got the isolated queen pawn. Now we see knight B3 hits the bishop. It drops to B6. Knight C3 played, pressuring the center, and you don't want to push D4 prematurely. You help the knight hop, attack these dark squares, and you open the bishop's eyes. So H6 played instead. Stops bishop G5, pressuring a defender of this weak pawn in the center. Both players now castle. Knight A4, great move, and this is instructive. If you drop with bishop C7, these dark squares are now very vulnerable, under White's control. Rook C1 can come, and if ever B6, you're opening this diagonal. E4, well timed one day, could be very dangerous. So Magnus goes knight C6. He's got to get his pieces out. Lets the knight take here. Recaptures with the pawn. Instructive. Best move. You take away control of C5, activate the rook, but of course these could be weak in the long run. Bishop E3 now played, adding defense to this D4 square. We get rook E8 from Magnus, knight D4 centralizing, and now knight G4 going after the bishop, looking to shatter the structure. White doesn't want it, of course, goes bishop F4. Magnus takes, queen recaptures, wins a pawn. Doing well, right? But White's got counterplay with the bishops. Bishop F3 starts it, and even if Magnus plays the right move, rook E8, which he doesn't, White still gets excellent play in compensation for the pawn. Open board, bishop pair, weak pawns all over the show. But Magnus blunders, uncharacteristically, plays rook C2. What's the problem with this? Test your tactical ability. Can you find the best move for White? And it's all to do with loose pieces. Loose pieces drop off, as they say, right? So the move to play, well done if you found it. It's a retreating move, never easy to spot. And you hit an undefended rook and add the battery with the bishop on the knight, which is now not defended enough times. How do you save it all? Well, you don't, right? If you're Vladimir Kramnik, getting this played against you by a FIDE master, this is when you do the procedure.
Okay, let's do the procedure.
But if you're Magnus Carlsen, what do? Kamikaze, right? You just give up the knight. You've got to try it. Win a pawn. Yes, Magnus has got 3 pawns ahead, but not for long. The central one drops. Bishop E6 developing. I mean, you'd love to keep the queens on, but it's tough, so Magnus goes for this. Plus, he loves an endgame, and I love this from Valery. He doesn't hastily take off the queens, he just wins a pawn. Threatens the rook in the corner here. So Magnus takes on A2. We get an exchange of a pair of rooks, and now bishop C7, cold-blooded. going for the second pawn. Magnus looking for play, but it just doesn't exist. The queen holds it together. We get rook b2, creating a nasty pin, but now check, king h7, bishop e3, coming back away from this attack here, and after bishop f5 it activates a little bit, defends the king, but it allows white to keep simplifying. Queen e5 played, these ones come off with check. King g2, very tidy, and now white's looking for queen f3 here, trade the ladies off the board, so Magnus sets a trap with rook b1. He's going to keep fighting to the end, because if you go queen f3, well, these come off with check, you win a rook. Not good. So instead, we see takes here. Valery spots it. He's doing everything right. He's 30 seconds up on the clock. And after queen d5, f6, defending the pawn which was attacked, here we see just the most horrific blunder. Poor Valery, a minute on the clock. He's going to be absolutely kicking himself. He plays the atrocious king to f3. And look at the evaluation bar just reacting. Goes to like -10, -11. What's the winning move? Well done if you see it. I'm sure most of you do. Long in the tooth chess players as you are. Queen h1 check, and we see resignation or lost on time even. The clock just runs out. Valery's just in the corner crying, I think. What's the problem? Well, you move the king, you lose the queen, and of course that's the game over. Huge material for black. Awful finish for the young man. He's about 20 years old, right? But he did issue this audio message after the game. Don't cry for me. So he is very keen that we're not too upset for him. I hope you enjoyed. Smash subscribe. I'm back with some serious chess content this week. The second Magnus Ritchie game, plus some Hans Niemann recap on his Grenka win at the Classic in the round robin open thing. Hope you enjoyed, and check out the video on screen for another Magnus opening trash game. Thanks a lot and see you soon.